the gate to open to get in the show. My plan was to be there early, but traffic was slow. Anyway, I reached the tent on time, but I had to join a line. If you see big crowd partner waiting to enjoy the soca line. Yeah. All around the corner, plenty people gathering. If you see the ladies partner, tight dress and posing. All them vendors selling food and drinks, everywhere music playing. Somewhere near a big doorway you could hear a woman calling, take a taste, 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 take a taste.
APNU AFC promised more jobs and a good life. Instead, we lost 30,000 jobs. Taxes went up, people are less safe, and cost of living skyrocketed. Now, after 4 years of neglect and corruption, the APNU AFC gang are coming with more empty promises, only cause they need you now. We are smart. Fool me once, shame on you. This time, we will not be fooled by your sneaky fake news. APNU promises. We vote in PPPC to get Guyana working again.
Good day. How are you? Thank you for joining me. Looking forward to our discussions today, as always. You just heard live on television a senior former minister, Dr. Peter Ramsaroop, a great man who has done a lot for our healthcare system in Guyana. I think his program is very well received. The callers asked some great questions. So we look forward to our continued discussion today. We're all excited. We're getting closer to the election date. We know yesterday the president and the opposition leader, Dr. Jack Dio, agreed to a GCOM chairman, Justice Claudia Singh. We know she's a fair woman. Look forward to her management of GCOM. We know that there are many issues that she is faced with immediately, and I know for a fact that she will work hard in ensuring that we have timely elections according to the Constitution. She understands more than anyone else the rule of law, and we look forward to her implementing the rule of law for elections within the period that is needed, within the 3 months from the last judgment from the CCJ. But as we recap, I want to recap why we are in our situation today and what happened. You know, over the last 4 years, we know in 2015, a lot of people, it was a very slim margin that APNU won the election, you know, less than a few thousand votes. They won an election. We know the PPP did file an election petition questioning some of the voting recording. We know that many polling areas that should have been recounted was not, but the PPP accepted a defeat when it really was not a defeat, because without the election petition going through all of the polling counting, we are not 100% sure what the end result would have been. So we accepted and we moved on. That was very well of the PPP to ensure that our country continued to operate in the well-being of our citizens. 2015, some voted for APNU, for a change. And let's recap what happened from 2015 to 2019. You most likely did not see any government minister out in your communities for 4 years. You know that. You know what happened immediately. They decided to raise their salaries, saying that it's too little money to work for, and they will not work in a public office for little money when they're there to serve the people. They raised their salary from the PPP minister's salary by 50%. We know that. Continued on. They did not have a single house lot given out over the last 4 years. They decided now to spend 4 years going after former PPP administration. They did millions of dollars on forensic audits, only to come out with nothing. No prosecution that was relevant to our society. Frivolous charges against some of the candidates of the PPP senior leadership. 4 years later, we still know there are frivolous charges. Needs to be cleared out from the system. So they spent 4 years doing crap. They continued on, and what happened? The people realized that they no longer had confidence in this government, in Mr. Granger. They no longer had confidence that he was competent enough to continue to govern the country. They went back in 2015 and they studied the people, us, we the citizens, studied the promises that were proposed by APNU. Those that left the PPP party and went over to AFC or APNU studied even more deeper, like if they were studying for an exam. What are all the promises that David Granger promised to the people of Guyana? And 4 years later, in December, they decided that was it. He did not deliver any of the promises. So what they did was strip Mr. Granger of his presidency. They stripped, through their parliamentarians, stripped Mr. Granger of his presidency, telling the nation they had no confidence in Mr. Granger and his administration. By doing that, it generated a set of events that has taken place over the last year. So in order to get to that no confidence vote that said Mr. Granger was no longer competent to run our nation, 21st of December 2018, was not a frivolous decision. It was not a decision just out of because people wanted it. It was calculated. When you go back to regions that produce sugar, region 3 and region 5 and 6, and you saw what happened over the 4 years, thousands and thousands of people out of work, 7,000 sugar workers laid off. They're still on the breadline today. 30,000 jobless because of the decline in our economy. So between 2015 and 2019, that was a major event that happened. Those people, through their parliamentarians, said to Mr. Granger, you're no longer whole or confidence. You no longer is competent to manage the affairs of Guyana, and we want you gone. That was what happened on the 21st of December. So it happened for reasons. Mr. Granger came in with a bundle of promises, numerous promises. You know, he said he would reduce VAT. So Mr. Granger tried his best. He came and said, we will reduce VAT from 16% to 14%. But he thought he was smart. He then reduced the VAT to 14% and then increased taxes from drainage to mining to license to electricity to water. He increased our taxes. So whilst we go to the store and pay only 14% for some goods and services, all our other taxes that takes money out of our pockets, he put on us. So instead of the 14% that he thought he reduced it from 16 to 14, we the citizens went, oh wow, crap. We're paying more taxes than we were paying when we were paying VAT to 16%. Pensioners now have to pay taxes on water and electricity. We all have to pay taxes on our data. So Mr. Granger thought, you know what, he'll con us. He'll make some promises, he'll act like he delivered, but on the other hand, he taxed us more money. So 2019 and 2018, 21st of December, when the no confidence vote happened, it again was from the people of our nation, through their parliamentarians, that said they no longer had confidence in Mr. Granger, lies and incompetency, and they want him out. And over the last 8 months, he has done every possible thing illegally, in my mind, not by the book, not by following the law, the rule of law, not by following our constitution, to delay the elections that the people of Guyana said they had no confidence in him. So as we recap how we got to this point of appointment of a GCOM chairman, again, 18 months ago, he named Justice Patterson illegally, unconstitutionally, and flawed. Every decision that Justice Patterson made in the GCOM Commission is unconstitutional and flawed and illegal. So no one can follow that. Mr. Lowenfield knows very well what he said the other day when he said the list can be used, because he know he cannot follow the House registration directive by the GCOM chairman because it was 3-3 votes. The PPP commissioner said no. The PNC commissioner said yes. Mr. Patterson, because he was a PNC member, basically said yes. When we know that that was not supposed to, he's supposed to have an independent vote that reviewed all the reasons why. He knew there was no legal grounds for him to direct the House registration. So again, on the 21st of December, Mr. Patterson was already in place as GCOM chairman. And again, the people realized Mr. Granger had made a unilateral decision and voted through their parliamentarians that they had no confidence in the competence of Mr. Granger and his ability to manage our nation. He had failed over the 4 years. No ministers have been outside of their offices. You drive around Georgetown, just as an example, and you look at every government building. If you go inside, it's been refurbished. One, money was spent in painting it from white or cream, which are neutral colors for a country, into the PNC green. You know how much millions of dollars were spent painting buildings? You go inside the offices now, they're posh furnitures, they're expensive interior decorating. That's what they did for the last 4 years with our taxpayers' money. They spent it out. Every year, Mr. Jordan had one of the largest budgets. He's so proud to come to us and says he's presenting the largest budget to our nation. And they spend the money out on frivolous things. They did not bring that money back into the economy. If they had done that, you would not have seen a no confidence vote in December of 2018. People would have been happy. The thousands and thousands of people out of work in all the Region 3, Region 5, and Region 6 for sugar would have never told their parliamentarians to vote Mr. Granger out. They would have all been happy. They would have had a job. They would have been taking care of their families. But again, they told Mr. Granger, we had no confidence in you, and we want you out of office. So let us all to where we're at today. So it is not that this had nothing to do with just the PPP and elections, and this was a nation that was frustrated with the fact that they elected a man who said he was a good man, who said he will follow the rule of law, who said he will follow the Constitution, who said he will do things for Guyana, made hundreds of promises, and then he did not deliver. And when he was told we had no confidence in him anymore, he decided to put on his authoritarian rule. You know, the other day he went and told the diplomats, 2 days ago, told the diplomats how he is going to function, that he is the president. Although he's a caretaker president, he said this is what he's going to do. Everything he said was unconstitutional, was against what the rule of law said. And I think what happened that night, something happened. Something happened when he said all those things to the diplomats, because the next day we had a new GCOM chairman. Basically, they probably told him, shut up and color. You're breaking the law. You're going to pay for sanctions against our country. And they know that they do not want Guyanese people to suffer. We know the opposition leader, Dr. Jagdeo, has worked very hard in this environment to protect the citizens, to continue to make sure that less things that can happen that hurts our nation is done. He pursued, he was patient, and he delivered to us a candidate for the GCOM chairman that was accepted through the vote, and now we move forward. So Mr. Granger, the Emperor Clothes was finally stripped. People are finally telling Mr. Granger, you've been in office 8 months extra, you're on borrowed time, you're now naked, everyone is seeing you for who you are, Mr. Granger. You have failed our country. You have been, probably, as I see many political commentators and analysts around the country and around the world, said you have been the worst president of Guyana. Polls have validated that you have the lowest rating of any president. You have been a distant president, 3 to 4 press conferences in 4 years. You have made some promises. You walk around like you are some leader of a royalty with all of the security and your aloofness. You could not even shake, Mr. Granger, you could not even shake a single diplomat hand when you called them to State House. You walked in, you briefed them like you were in charge, and you don't realize if it wasn't for some of the help of those countries, we would not survive as a nation. All the help that the foreign countries help us with, we have to respect their contributions to our nation. We're a sovereign environment. We believe in duty to our nation. We believe in our flag. We believe in our national pride and sense of duty. But we also have to respect those that help us. And your treatment of the diplomatic community was embarrassing to our nation. And I'm glad that you finally listened when the court, the political opposition, the diplomats said to you, follow the rule of law. You've got one more decision to make, Mr. Granger. You have now been stripped. Your emperor clothes is off. Everyone is seeing you as who you are. And you have one more duty to fulfill, is to call elections. And I'm sure that Justice Claudette Singh will go in and review and follow the recommendation of GCOM, which Mr. Lowenfield, as the CEO of GCOM, has said the list is valid. It can be updated in the shortest period of time. We potentially can meet the September 18 deadline. We can refresh the list. Every one of us that is somewhat off the list for whatever reason, or you change your address, will have sufficient time to go do that, and no one will be disfranchised from voting. Every one of us that are eligible to vote will have the opportunity to vote through a claim and objection period, and we will have elections. So we're in election mode. It's exciting that we've got to now pay attention to the two parties. You've got a PNC and a PPP. That's it. The other parties are contributing, but you now have to strip. Mr. Granger has been stripped of his APNU clothes. The fake APNU clothes that he put on in 2011 and 2015 has been stripped. What you're seeing now is the old PNC. Even Prehoy has come back. Prehoy has come back to the PNC. And by stripping Mr. Granger of his emperor clothes, we now see him as a straight PNC. No longer APNU. He is going to campaign in this election. When he campaigns, watch him as a PNC of the 70s and 80s. Look at what the economy was in the 70s and 80s, and when you watch Mr. Granger campaign, soon strip him of the APNU title and pay attention to him, because those are PNC policies of the past. You know why Mr. Granger probably did not pick Major General Joe Singh? 2 times he was submitted on the list as GCOM chairman, because Mr. Hoyt gave Joe Singh, the chief of staff of the army, promoted him to 2 stars, bypassed Mr. Granger, and said, no, you're not eligible to be chief of staff of the army. I'm going to bring somebody else, give them 2 stars and put them to the army. And so he's upset that Joe Singh got the promotion above him from Mr. Hoyt. Mr. Hoyt had to see something detrimental about Mr. Granger not to give him chief of staff of the army. And a lot of people don't know that, but Mr. Granger never became chief of staff of the army. Joe Singh. And Joe Singh was nominated 2 times. He was nominated by Mr. Hoyt as the opposition, as the GCOM chairman, was selected. Dr. Jagdeo did submit his name, but Mr. Granger refused to put Joe Singh. So that's all water under the bridge. We have a new GCOM chairman. We're excited. We're moving forward. We're looking forward to the date of elections that will be recommended. The president now must make a decision. So he cannot hide, because again, he's been stripped. Mr. Granger has been stripped of his emperor clothes. He now, we're all seeing him, as I said, for who he is. He's got to name the election date. I'm looking forward to your phone calls today, and looking for your discussion as we now calculate and decide. And I believe the decision is very, very easy to make. You've got a PNC on one side, that has raised taxes over the last 4 years, that has been incompetent in managing our economy. They show they're at any given time, given the opportunity, they will disobey our Constitution. They will break the rule of law. They will use the court system to frustrate the process. They will lie to our nation. They will make up math. That's the PNC that you've got to be worried about going forward. And even if you're an APNU PNC supporter, I can warn you that that is not a government that you want even for Guyana, even if you're an APNU supporter, because it's dangerous to have a government that can blatantly disobey the Constitution, disobey the rule of law, use the court system, violate the court system by putting fuzzy maths into the game, getting judges that I feel sorry for the appeal judges that agreed with that math. But we have moved on. Elections. I did the recap to bring you to where we're at today. Yesterday, the minister, caretaker minister of housing, I believe she is, rushed to Linden and promised 500 house lots for Linden. Where was she 4 years ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? Suddenly so, election is on us, rushed to promise 400, 500 house lots to be developed. Lindeners know very well that the government did not show up in the last 4 years. If you're in Linden, you know that's a gimmick. You know that you cannot rightfully look into Mr. Granger's eyes and says, we believe you this time. He did not deliver. So the promises will come. Mr. Jordan, yesterday, PNC Mr. Jordan, the accountant, don't understand economics, don't understand the management, broad policy of governing a nation. How do you implement financial strategies and policies that will bring our macro economy to the level it needs to be, manage our micro economy? He doesn't understand that. He's an accountant, knows how to add some money, but cannot design the policies and the economic direction like Dr. Jagdeo and Irfan Ali, who is an economist who can look forward and says, this is the broad policy. When you implement policies with financial objectives, financial strategies, tied to a vision, tied to a tactical operating plan, you will be able to deliver what is said in your budget. Mr. Jordan threw a lot of numbers out. He's still throwing out a lot of numbers. You know, he mentioned the 2% drop in the VAT taxes, but he never mentioned to you the 200 plus taxes that he increased, did he? He said he reduced taxes in one or two other areas, but he didn't tell you he put VAT on all the machinery. He put VAT on electricity. He put VAT on water. Did he mention that yesterday in his speech, in his press conference? No, because he's trying to pull a wolf over your eyes again. That says, this is where we're going. So the promises will not be delivered. And by the promises not being delivered, again, over the last 8 months, Mr. Granger has proven that he is not competent to manage our nation. He's a man that likes pump. He's a man that likes to walk with his shoulders up. A man that doesn't shake your hand. A man that doesn't look in your eyes. A man that tells civil society and diplomats this is how it will be done, without any consultation, without any interaction with the citizens. A man that is afraid to sit in front of the media and answer questions. 4 press conferences or so in the last 4 years. That's a man that doesn't understand Guyana. He doesn't understand Guyana. And I believe, I was looking for the Spanish word to call election. He's been going to Cuba so long that I believe as I said many times, I believe he studied dictatorship under Mr. Burnham. He went to Cuba during his illness, and maybe he learned how to speak Spanish in saying, I am a dictator, I am an authoritarian ruler, I don't know how to call elections. So I'm looking for the Spanish words to speak to Mr. Granger. Said, you know, you're no longer in Cuba, you're now in English-speaking Guyana. Mr. Jordan made a statement yesterday also that is very alarming. You know what he said to us? He said, all the Haitians coming into Guyana is going to work for cheaper labor. And they're going to take away our jobs. Because you know what? They need jobs. So they're going to cut your grass for 1,000 when Guyanese will cut your grass for 1,500. That is a slam on us as citizens. Mr. Jordan disrespects us through Mr. Granger, allowing so many immigrants to come into our nation just for the voting, and then taking jobs that we don't have, and then is going to look at us and says, too bad. They're going to work cheaper than you, and that's your problem. Go back and listen to Mr. Jordan. So, 30,000 people out of work, immigrants coming in, going to work at a lower wage, and Mr. Jordan doesn't care because he's implementing Mr. Granger's plan. Mr. Jordan is incompetent, we know that. But where is he getting direction from? He's getting direction from Mr. Granger, who has no clue. I want you to look at Mr. Granger's speech next time. Look at his last 3 speeches. And tell me if you believe that man understands what it takes to manage our economy, manage our country. Look at the social component of Guyana. Look at the economic sector. Look at our cohesion sector. Look at our foreign policy. Do you believe that the man understands an integrated approach to managing our nation? No. Mr. Granger was voted out 21st of December 2018 by the people of Guyana, by the parliamentarians that said to Mr. Granger, we no longer have confidence in you as a president and as a leader of our nation. Time to call elections going forward. The PPP is ready for election. You see, yesterday, thousands and thousands of people stand up in the sun and said to the GCOM, stop house registration. Let's get on with fixing the list. Let's move to election. Let's vote in a new government. We, the people, want our constitutional right to vote. We want all of us to be on the list. We will all support. The opposition leader said many times he supports even an extended claims and objection period to ensure that no one in our country could ever say that they did not have the opportunity to register to vote. No one could say they didn't have the opportunity to change their address. Everyone over the last decade has been able to do that. Every 18-year-old has been able to make sure that they're on the list from the time they were 14. And by the time they're 18, they're extracted and on the voters list. You have an opportunity to look at that list prior to election, and if you didn't see your name, you have the opportunity to go to a GCOM office, take your birth certificate, and get on that list. That's what claims and objection is all about. There is no need, as I mentioned many times, for us to re-register. There's no need for us to get a new ID card. You're already in the system. If you're not dead, you're eligible to vote. And if you're dead, you can't vote. So get your name off the list. Get the debt registration office to get that name off the list. So what is Mr. Granger worried about for dead people? And guess what? Mr. Lowenfield, the CEO of GCOM, has publicly said he did not tell the president there's 200,000 people on the list that are dead or shouldn't be on the list. So where did Mr. Granger get that? If the GCOM chairman, the GCOM CEO said that, where did Mr. Granger, did he have somebody in GCOM looking up the database? I hope not. That would be illegal, Mr. Granger. So Mr. Lowenfield contradicted what you have said. Mr. Lowenfield has said the list is accurate and ready to go. We believe that to ensure that it is truly accurate, we get a chance to double check it one more time, and that's what is going to happen. So I'm ready for your calls. If you're out and you want to have that discussion with me, feel free to do that. But we're going to get on with running an effective campaign that will not be geared towards promises, but geared toward a plan that will revive our nation and move it forward. In order to revive our nation, you got to look back not long, 4 years ago. Where were we in 2015? When you look at all the projects that were done between 2015 and 2019, it shows the vision of the PPP. It shows the vision. You drive down Sheriff Street, you see the roads being extended. That was a vision of the PPP. You drive over to the West Coast and you see the new roads. That was a vision of the PPP. You go down East Bank and you see the road East Coast and you see the roads being extended. That was a vision of the PPP. Started, funded, being finalized with the current government. You look at the airport, although there are so many scandals and so much disruption in terms of incompetence in delivering the project to what it's supposed to be, the fact is we have a new airport, did not meet the standards that we proposed, gain. That was a vision, funded, plan under the PPP. A lot of the water treatment plants that you are seeing GWI implementing, again, vision, funded from the PPP. All prior to 2015. All prior to 2015. That is what it takes in order to manage the nation. And as the PPP campaign over the next few months, less than a few months, I mean, we have maybe 60 days towards election. What are we going to tell you? One, you heard Mr. Irfan Ali, the presidential candidate, an economist, a passionate young gentleman that the nation is looking forward to lead our country. He said that we will revive our productive system. We will expand our productive systems. That is our rice and sugar and our non-traditional agriculture and plantation agriculture, looking across the savannas, looking across how we can introduce the cattle industry, improve our cattle industry, look at milk and expansion of production. How do we move from improve the productive sectors? Where would we get cheaper energy from? Looking at our integrated energy plan that talks about hydro, solar, renewable energy, natural gas. All of those components that were in the plan in 2015, revived now for 2019, will be implemented. And again, I go back and rehash every project that you see APNU has done over the last 4 years. The infrastructure projects were funded, was the vision, was planned under the PPP administration. Not a single new idea. Mr. Granger has never briefed the nation. There's one, I'm sorry, I'll tell you in a second what he briefed the nation on. But there's zero new plan, new ideas, new vision that came out of the PNC government, APNU government over the last 4 years. The only thing Mr. Granger seemed proud of is a document called the Green Strategy. And I've had students look at the Green Strategy, and as a professor I would tell you that that would not even get a grade A. It was poorly written. There were no measurements, there were no implementation timelines, there was no result-oriented plans that says if this is done, this is what will be achieved and how it will benefit our population. Mr. Granger is proud of this Green Strategy. The only thing that he has done over the last 4 years, and when you strip him of his clothes, that's a bad thought, but when you strip him of his presidency and you realize what he has done, the Green Strategy and his only achievement was taking our beautiful colonial heritage state house and painting it green. That was probably his own, that's what Mr. Granger will be remembered for his 4 years of presidency in Guyana, for painting State House and public buildings with his party colors. That shows, you know what it tells you? When you have no vision, when you have no plans, when you have no credible thought process, when you have no ability to govern, the best thing you can do is know you got a pocketbook You can go shopping and buy some things you don't need. So Mr. Granger took our money and wasted it on salaries. He wasted it on painting buildings, interior design, giving, renting houses as drug bonds, scandalous procurement contracts. That's what we have been faced with over the 4 years. And he now wonders why the people of our nation said to him, they have no confidence, Mr. Granger, in your administration. None whatsoever. None. So the failed promises, the lies, are evident. And we now have that choice. The choice is ours going into the election cycle. The choice is ours. We're moving into that mode where we all should have made most likely our decision already. I believe for the most part, Guyanese as a people have made the decision that they don't want Mr. Granger back as Mr. President. They don't want APNU or PNC government back because they failed. Right? We have concluded that. But why you still need to be involved? Because you need to be involved in the future of our country. As you listen to Mr. Ali present the economic plan, as you listen to him present the policies and processes and metrics and goals and objectives of how his administration will manage our economy, you need to get involved. Your ideas, when the PPP distributes their manifesto, it is not 4 of us or 5 of us sitting in the back room thinking what could be done. That manifesto was built on consultation at civil society level, political level, economic level, class level, religious level. All of those people got a chance to contribute where they see Guyana in the next 5 years. Where do they see Guyana in the next decade? And that's what that manifesto that Mr. Ali will present to us shortly will describe. The economic plan, the vision for our country, our foreign policy. How do we deal with our neighbors? How do we expand the South American market? How do we expand the CARICOM market? How do we look at rebuilding and expanding our infrastructure to ensure that we can now move to that next economy that will come through our newfound oil and gas? How do we then build to the next level where every citizen of our country benefit from the growth of our economy? That is what you're going to see Mr. Ali present. And it's going to be exciting, because that excitement, I tell you, is what Guyana needs in the next decade. It is the excitement that is needed. It is not about frivolous promises. It is not about that things like no more blackouts, jobs for youth. It's about saying we will create 50,000 new jobs in 5 years. And here's how those 50,000 jobs will be created. Here are the sectors. Here is the financial plan. Here is where those jobs will come from. And how you can get ready for those jobs. How could we rebuild sugar industry to ensure that the sugar workers are retained for their jobs? I'll take your phone calls as it. Yes, good day.
Yes, good day, sir. I just want to address a couple of things that you've been saying this week and last week.
Yes.
One of the first thing concerning, you spoke about the government not paying Bitcoin and about the bad favorites. If you're aware of why they want to, if you want to be honest, all right? Bitcoin owes $500 million. The Commissioner General explained that. You are an economist, you know that is true. I don't understand why you would come on TV and can't even have the decency and the honesty to explain that.
Well, you know what? You go back to the courts. The courts made a decision that the finance minister must pay DEFCON. That was an order by the court, the highest judicial system in our nation. It's not Peter Ramsaroop coming up with that. It's not no economist. There's not no politician. The court said, based on evidence, that the state owed that company money. Pay them the company. If the GRA wants to now fight them for other money, absolutely, GRA has a right to go do that once it's not politically motivated.
So should we pay Bitcoin?
Yes, the court ordered the payment. Pay them. You see, you go back to the same thing Mr. Granger is doing. Is you cannot disobey the court. If you disobey the court, then we have a rule country. All of us can do what we want. You cannot tell the nation and recommend that, like Mr. Jordan and Mr. Granger did, and disobey the court system. Just like they're disobeying the CCJ, they cannot do that, sir. Come on. Regardless of political affiliation, let's make sure the rule of law in our nation never breaks down.
Would you tell the guys, how are you going to get a 500,000 if Bitcoin is nothing, Guyana? How are we going to get it?
That's for the courts to decide. If that's true, I don't know where that come from. I think what happened is after the order, Mr. JRA said they owed the system. That's two separate cases, sir. The fact is, the law, the rule of law, the judge said, pay the company 2 million to whatever the number was. Pay them. Pay them. That should not be questioned.
Okay, second point. The second point is that you're claiming that the Guyanese people have lost confidence in Guyana. It's one man vote?
No, it's 33 votes, which is the majority of parliament, which represents the majority of the people of Guyana. One man did not vote for the no confidence. It is 33 out of 65, which represents the majority of our nation, told Mr. Granger, we have no confidence in his government. Not one man, get that out of the system. One man did not have the right alone to vote for no confidence.
Election will have to determine if the people have confidence in the president or not you.
No, I was just recapping, sir. I was just recapping. 21st of December, the nation told Mr. Granger they had no confidence in him. If now, during election time, they regain that confidence, which I doubt it, they have a right, all of us have a right to vote. That's our constitutional right. That's what we're saying. Get out and vote.
Yes, last thing, concerning Mr. Joseph's appointment. You're claiming that the president has the right to decide who he wants.
Absolutely.
Secondly, if Mr. Granger was not elected by Hyde because Hyde didn't think much of him, well then the same goes, PDP didn't think much of you. They didn't give you no big example.
I will tell you, if I needed a position, I would be in a position. What position would I want in the PPP right now? In government. Have you seen me fight for any position? Absolutely not. I'm here to fight for the democracy of our country, and I continue to do that. That's given. So the gentleman pointed out three things that are very important for us. He is saying, one, Mr. Granger has a right to do what he wants. No, Mr. Granger should have never pardoned Mr. Jordan. He should have paid the company per court order. So if Mr. Granger has the right to disobey the courts, which he's doing right now with the CCJ ruling, why then should I follow the law? Who gives Mr. Granger any authority more than Peter Ramsaroop to follow the law? We cannot. We cannot have a rule. And Mr. Granger is setting a very bad example. And we've got at least, he has one convert that is saying to break the law. We should not. Hello?
Hello, good day.
Good day.
Yeah, I would like to say that a lot of people are speaking confidence. We had the no confidence vote. And then here we have the confidence speak out by Mr. Louisfield, and that he revealed what is on his mind. He cleared it. And today's papers, I'm seeing that Mr. Jordan is trying to contaminate the guy's mind again. Why is he speaking for Mr. Louisfield?
Well, I mean, Kaichor News, thank you. Kaichor News is very clear in the reporting that says they've got the video clip. And what Mr. Lowenfield said, the list can be used, it can be refreshed, and he can have elections at the shortest period of time. So, Mr. Jordan has no right, I agree with the caller, to distort Mr. Lowenfield. And Kaichor News is very clear. Read the article. Kaichor News said they have the clip. They can show you what Mr. Lowenfield said. He can't go back and say he lied to himself, we've got to stop this David 1, David 2 I talk about that Mr. Granger does. Sometimes he speaks today and tomorrow he speaks something else. Mr. Jordan needs to realize he cannot distort the facts of Mr. Lowingfield. Good day. I can't understand a word you say, sorry. If you can call back with a clearer line. But we are having a very healthy conversation. I think everyone realized that we're closer to an election date. Hopefully David 1 speaks to David 2 and gets that done in a shortest period of time. You know, Justice Pradat Singh will make the right recommendations. Hello. Hello.
Hi.
Yes.
Mr. Ramsaroop.
Good day.
Yeah. Why is telling nation that I can't ask why is telling nation after cabinet in the Palmer? What are they going to tell people in Palmer?
Well, that's a good point. The ministers are using state resources. One, that's illegal, sir. The fact that those ministers, caretaker ministers, is in the Pomeroon spending government dollars, that is abusing state resources on the caretaker government. Look at the convention. They cannot be in the Pomeroon and the Escribo campaigning on state resources. That's illegal. But they're there. They're coming with all their frivolous promises once again, and what they're going to be shocked at, as I mentioned, the majority of the people said they have no confidence in this government. We will continue to push forward. And no matter what they come out and tell us now, the fact is we know it's lies, we know it's irrelevant, we know they couldn't deliver, and the next 4 years, 5 years, why vote for somebody that can deliver? Your vote needs to count this time around. It needs to count to the fact that we're going into one of the most exciting decades of our nation would have ever had. No part of history will come close to the next 10 years. And you want to ensure the next 10 years is under strict management, understanding. The biggest thing to understand in the next 10 years is economics. Because you're going to have money, you're going to have to ensure that it is taken and spent across the nation, ensuring our infrastructure, our productive sectors, or our trade, all of those components that are integrated, and every citizen should have a cheaper electric bill, should have the ability to produce their goods right in Guyana, have ability to expand our companies, look at building massive entities in our nation, partnering with other outside companies, and that is the exciting decade under Mr. Ali's administration that we must look forward to. We cannot take any more risk to put an incompetent administration back in government. Sorry, I missed your call there. We cannot put an incompetent administration back in government because we would mess up the next decade. If you've got, yes, hello.
Peter, I'm done for elections now we want. We don't want to hear about anything. We put in now a personal elections commission. Got confidence in she could rotate the whole process and say, scrap the house registration tomorrow, do what Mr. Lowingfield sells them do. He ain't got no more power. She's the power now, right?
Absolutely. I agree. So and that's what I'm saying.
What we want now is elections.
Yes, I agree. Elections is on us, and what I'm describing to you is why and how you need to pay attention to your voting right. As I mentioned, the next decade is what you need to look for. If you want, as a young person, to ensure you're not out of a job like you have been in the last 4 years, you're looking forward to getting new jobs, new opportunities, you got to vote for Mr. Ali and an economic plan that will deliver that. I can tell you that economic plan has the vision, it has the objectives, it has the financial strategy, it has the metrics to measure that has been done, and it has how it will benefit each one of us as citizens. That is what needs to will be presented to us, and that's what we've got to pay attention to. Not slogans of blackouts, no more blackouts, and youth jobs for youth, and all those funny things that Mr. Granger came with 4 years ago. Not that. Real plans, real processes, and will be implemented and delivered. Yes. Hello.
Yes, you could please tell us when is the election? We need election early as possible, brother.
Yes, thank you. Elections must, based on the court order, held by September 18th. Now that the GCOM chairman has been resolved, I know probably within the next week, Justice Claudette Singh will do her review. Her choices are very limited to say. The only thing that she can now present, most likely, is to say how to get the claims and objection period together, that we can make sure our names are clean on the list. The house registration cannot continue. It's an illegal activity, so I don't see the justice going in there and continuing a legal activity. She understands more than any person that the rule of law must be followed. The Caribbean Court is the highest rule of law, so she knows that she has to ensure that GCOM is ready. Her only job is to make sure GCOM is ready, and GCOM should always be ready. So I'm predicting that she's going to beat up a few people to say, what the heck have you been doing? But Mr. Neufield did say that he's ready. So I don't think it's to be controversial. I think the decision, the fact that the president must call elections probably by the end of this week, and if he's smart, he knows that the nation is against him. They know that the nation is standing up. Thousands of thousands came out yesterday telling him, get on with elections, get on with managing our country, with calling election, Mr. Granger. You no longer have the confidence of our people. It is time you make the right decision and call elections. Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Good day.
Good day.
I want to tell the people they're sitting in the car and it's PPP. That's happening. They have a phone in the pocket with PPP. Everything is PPP. Why did they do it against PPP? I love PPP. I would never take them for nobody else, no party. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I believe it's very clear as I come close to the end of the program. The choice is clear. The PPP left a budget, a funding stream for every project you have seen over the last 4 years. That is no lie, it's no makeup. Ask Mr. Jordan or Mr. Granger, what new idea have you come up with apart from painting the buildings green and putting nice chairs and TVs in your office and raising your salary? Ask them what else they came up with. Mr. Jordan gonna go a long list of things he did. Look back, strip it. Just like I said, strip Mr. Granger of his emperor clothes. Make him naked. Strip Mr. Jordan. You're going to see the lies. You're going to see the fact that reducing fat from 16 to 14% has no value to you because he took all the zero-rated items off. He put VAT back on those items and put VAT on new items, put taxes on new items, and you are paying more. We are paying more from our pockets. So strip them of their clothes. Tell them plain and straight, we don't have the confidence in you. We're going to elections. We're excited about this campaign. Masadi and his team will present that plan that is needed to take the country the next decade. And if you're a farmer out there, you should be excited because the trade issues and the financial impact that this would have as our economy grows on you, you will have the opportunity to grow more. And you will have the markets. As we look at the Deepwater Harbor, we look at the connection to Brazil and South America, we look at increasing our air traffic, as we look at improving our electric grid and our renewable energy and all those things. As a farmer, you have a great opportunity ahead of you. You did before. Some of you went with the failed promises. If you're a miner, the fact is we will take away back that taxes that Mr. Granger added on you. Take it away. You'll get a chance now to go back into mining and recreate what you were doing prior to 2015. If you are an ordinary citizen or a pensioner, the VAT will come off of electricity and water immediately. If you're a parent that have the school child, you will get that school voucher back again. If you're in the hinterland communities and were being paid to do some of the community work you were doing, you will get that back immediately. Those are things that will happen day one under the new PPP administration. as we start implement that new plan for the next decade, and as we bring together an integrated approach managed by a competent president that will be among the people. If you look at Mr. Adams right now, where is he at? He is out there talking with individuals, talking with communities, meeting with civil society, meeting with the religious community, getting ideas. So when he sits back, all of us would say, hey man, I remember telling him that would be a good plan for Guyana. All of us had had the opportunity, and as you shake his hand, look him in the eyes and ask him for that commitment, will he serve the people of Guyana? And I can tell you, I've walked with Mr. Ali, I've known him for decades. He will deliver his promises. Look back at his history. Look back what he has done for the housing community and water in Guyana, and go back to where it was started from, and you can prove without a shadow of doubt that he will deliver on his commitment, not promises, his commitment to serve our nation. That is what we need in the next decade. We don't need the pomp of Granger. He's been stripped naked of his emperor clothes. He's going to have to go into retirement. I'm not sure if he's going to serve as the opposition leader, but I hope he takes the time to spend time with his grandkids. He has failed the nation. He goes down in history as the worst president, one that has broken the law, did not follow the Constitution, the court orders. He has delayed every tactic. He has not served as an economic president. He has burned our society with taxes and embarrassed our nation around the world. And as we move forward into this election cycle, it is our time to look back, compare prior to 2015, look at what you went through from 2015 to 2019. Why did no confidence vote happen? Look at our next decade. Look at your young child sitting in your living room right now, and look at your young people. Look at your grandparents and your parents that will become pensioners over the next decade. And what would you want for them? You want a better Guyana. You want a nation that delivers to its people. You want a president that speaks and walks with you. You want a plan that is going to make your life better. You want taxes to be reduced. You want that heavy, burdensome taxes that Mr. Jordan and Mr. Granger put on you to be taken away. And you want an industry revived. You want jobs. 30,000 of you that are out of jobs. You don't want people coming into your country, our country, and working for less when you need that job. Saturn or Mr. Granger for even suggesting that. We need to look at our immigration policy. We need to make sure that we have a sound immigration policy as we move into the oil industry. We need to make sure that all of us have a right as citizens of our nation to benefit from the hard work. For decades we have worked. The oil is not APNU or PNC or the PPP. The oil is ours. And guess what? Mr. Ali is going to make sure that his administration ensure that all of us as citizens benefit, whether it's through tax reduction, whether it's through the productive sectors, whether it's through economic plans that expands our trade, whether it's bringing in new industries in our nation, whether it's expanding our infrastructure. The benefit to every one of our citizens is what we will look forward to and we will have. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to having more discussions with you Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. I'll join you again. And as you see us on the road, walking, campaigning, shake our hands. Tell us what you think should happen. Give us an idea or two. Tell us what we may have done wrong in the past and how we can fix it. And be part of making our nation the place that we all want it to be. A nation where every one of us, every Guyanese, regardless of our race, regardless of our color of our skin, regardless of our texture of our hair, regardless of our religious belief, regardless of our size, Guyana is for all of us. Mr. Ali and his administration and the PPP party is ready to deliver on the plans to make our nation better again. Thank you for joining me. God bless.